Hi everyone, I'm Jeffrey Smith and this is
Jennifer.
So Jennifer happens to be, we're going to out you now. Jennifer is a sprouter. I don't know, do you let your kids hang out with sprouters?
Absolutely.
So Jennifer's not just a sprouter, but she actually created a sprouting manual for Hippocrates Health Institute, which is like the sprouting capital of the world. And you also created the coaching program for the lifestyle medicine coaches. And lots and lots of hours. And within the sprouting online program, how many hours did you devote to teaching sprouting?
At least 15 hours.
Okay, so we're the next 15 hours. We're going to give 15 the benefit of 15 hours in 15 minutes. So we're not going to go through every single item that needs to be sprouted or how it's sprouted and its properties, etc. It's Latin names. I probably am jumping ahead.
No.
But you really go to Latin?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Latin names. There you go. Woo.
Yeah.
So she's totally out. I'm out of you're out of my class.
Oh.
So I'm going to leave you with Jennifer in good hands of the sprouting genius. And as far as sprouts go, like as long as I can remember, people who are into sprouts, they'd be like this, oh my God, sprouts. It's sort of like it takes something that feels kind of inert and infuses it with life and vitality. So and there's science to back it up, and she knows it.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Sure.
On my journey learning about nutrition, the more I learned, the more I realized that sprouting is one of the most important things for nutrition. Why? When you bring vitality back to your food, you find that your health and vitality increases substantially. In every food, when you eat it in its sprouted form, you get 30 to 50% more nutrients. Now, sometimes people think, well, sprouts don't taste good, or they're difficult to find, or maybe they're unsafe, because there's, of course, talk about that as well. The reason why we're bringing it into this 90-day lifestyle upgrade program is because I want to introduce to you the concept that sprouted food is inexpensive, it's easy, you can travel with it, and it's safe. And there's three things that we're going to discuss today. Sprouting of mung beans. And the other thing we're going to discuss is sprouting of lentils. These are French lentils or green lentils. And fenugreek. So these are three things that are super easy to sprout. Things that I sprouted while I was on MasterChef in the bathroom of my hotel room. Things that you can bring with you and add to your salads. And it adds a whole nother dimension of nutrition. It's inexpensive, it's easy, and you can do it in your own kitchen. Kids love it too. And there's a couple different ways I want to show you can sprout. So the first step in sprouting is actually going to your bulk food section or going to your grocery store and buying mung beans. Mung beans are one of the easiest thing, or green lentils or fenugreek. There's plenty of other things you can sprout. We're just going to focus on those three things. And mung beans in their dried form, are inedible. You can't eat them. They'll break your teeth. So you have to soak them. So the first step in sprouting is putting these beans inside of a glass jar, such as this jar. There's also another contraption that we use called the Easy Sprouter. And this is something that is really great for traveling because it has a top with no holes in it. And you can soak and sprout right here in the whole operation as a to-go option. It is plastic, which isn't my favorite thing, but it is a great option, and it does such a fantastic job. The third way you can sprout is going to be in clay. This is a very old-fashioned way of sprouting, and this is a tiered format, but that's also a classic but excellent way of sprouting. So the first step is really just to buy the mung beans, the lentils, or the fenugreek, or whatever it is you want to sprout, and simply put a very small amount into a glass bowl or jar, or any other contraption that you choose to use, and you fill this with water. So once you have your mung beans soaked overnight, and you've drained and rinsed them, and then you place them in a jar, and then you place a top, and the top needs to have some ventilation in it. So here is a sprouter top that has little notches on it. And the notches are there so that you can place it upside down, and there's air that passes through the bottom. And this is an excellent contraption, but if you don't have these unique toppers, you can always just use a regular rim, and you can buy screens. Or if you have a screen at home, you can cut and clearly wash your screen and place the screen inside of the rim and place this as the ventilated top for your sprouts. Now the problem with this is that when you place it down, there's no air that's moving through, and your sprouts might start to grow mold, in which case they're inedible. You can't eat them, it's unsafe. So what I like to use is a very simple trick, which is, this is a piece of wood, this is a chopstick that we had lying around, and I just use that underneath, and that can be enough ventilation. So that's a very inexpensive, very simple way you can sprout in your own kitchen. So there's a couple of options for you. The Easy Sprouter has another way where at the bottom, for example, here you see is the ventilation. And then inside there's a little spacer. And so it's designed to create that kind of ventilation. So it's really important that you have ventilation. I hope that's really clear. You can do it a number of ways with different toppers. This top with a screen, this specific sprouting topper that's made of plastic with little notches on it. Another way that I love to use is right here. In my own kitchen, I have this unusual contraption, and I just put it there. And we've got another way of doing it. So in your kitchen, you'll find your own unique way. But it's really important to know that once you've soaked your beans overnight and you've rinsed and drained them, then they go into a container that's clean with a ventilated top. And then for the 2 subsequent days, you rinse them and drain them in the morning, and you rinse them and drain them in the evening. And then before you know it, you will have sprouts that you can eat and snack on all day long. And what's really important to know is that they're ready when the little tail that grows, this is the sprout of the mung bean, is just as long, if not longer, than the bean itself. That's how you know that it's ready. And these are, you won't believe it, if you feel a little hungry at 4 o'clock, most of the time people reach for a coffee or a candy bar or even a piece of bread. And I would highly encourage you to reach for a handful of sprouts. They are highly perishable, so you do want to consume them in 2 to 3 days, and you won't believe it. 2 tablespoons of beans or seeds, whichever you're sprouting, amount to almost 3/4 of a cup of sprouts. So you really want to err on the lower end when you go to soak your beans or sprouts until you're really in the habit of consuming your beans. Lentils are by far one of my most favorite. Lentils are high quality of protein in and of themselves and fiber, and I really, really love them. These are the green French lentils that we use, and they are so tasty. Sprouts are one of my most favorite things to eat because I'm interested in high performance, and I'm interested in vitality, and I'm interested in food that's going to provide me the fuel that I need in my life. And I know that's excellent for my children or my child. So it's important for you to know how easy it is to do. And the reason why we start with lentils and mung beans is because it's really simple. Simple and easy and fast and inexpensive. Another thing that I wanted to show you is this tiered system where you also start your process always by soaking and then rinsing overnight. And then the next process, if you're using clay, which I highly recommend, I find it to be the best humidity, the best ventilation, and the best outcome really for me comes in clay. And what we find here is that it's a tiered system, and you see underneath we have the ventilation, and inside, once you have soaked overnight and rinsed your beans, then you simply just spread them out into the clay tray, and then you rinse and drain twice a day, morning and evening. And here we have the 2 trays of lentil and mung, 2 very high quality sources of protein that you can add to your salads or just carry around with you in your purse. I know that sounds strange, but I mean it. There's no compromise in the kinds of nutrients that your body needs. There should be no compromising on the quality of those nutrients, regardless of where you find yourself. Now, this is really a stage 1 for sprouting. I love to sprout microgreens, or I should say grow microgreens, wheatgrass, sunflower seed sprouts, buckwheat sprouts, pea shoot sprouts. I mean, there really is no end to the kinds of grains and seeds and beans that you can sprout. And for me, it's raised the bar in my nutrition and my performance and in my body composition to such a degree that it's simply a part of my life now. And I wanted to be sure to include it so that you knew how easy it was to do. So you really just need a few tablespoons of lentils or mung beans in a glass jar or a glass bowl. You don't need a jar that looks like this. You could even use a leftover olive jar that you're going to recycle but decided not to because you wanted to soak your lentils. And then you fill it with water. You just leave it on the counter overnight. You don't need to put it in the refrigerator. You just forget about it until the morning you wake up and you're making your morning tea and you say, oh, that's right, I soaked those lentils. You strain it. You put a ventilated top on it. Et voila, you've got, your beans will be growing. And that night when you come home from work or you come home from your daily activities, you just rinse it, strain it, and the next morning you won't believe it. You're going to have a whole food. And you don't need a big kitchen, you don't need a big space, you don't need direct light, you don't need indirect light. You can put it in your purse and travel if you're in a hotel room. There's so many options. But this is really stage one. And I want to encourage you to try it. It's actually really fun, and kids love it. When they grow and soak their own and they take full responsibility, they're snacking on it all the time. You know, they'll walk by, check on them, and grab a few. It's so much fun. These are some of my favorites, but these are a little more complicated. And they're the ones, these are sunflower seed sprouts. Can you imagine? This is the potentiality of a full sunflower that produces hundreds of seeds, if not more. And when you eat this, you're getting 30 to 50% more nutrients than you would if you were to eat the sunflower seed itself. And so the potentiality of life in sprouts is exponentially increased. And to me, that just makes logical sense in my brain when I think about the vitality in the food that I eat and the vitality that it provides for my body. And once my sprouts are ready, I've got my sprouts, they're all done, and I know they're ready because the tail is just as long, if not longer, than the bean itself. I've rinsed them and strained them, and now they're ready to be stored in the refrigerator. And they'll keep in the refrigerator. For sure, you can keep them in the refrigerator for 2 days, sometimes 5 days, sometimes longer, but I always like to keep them in glass. So I use a container like this. You could also use a container like this. You can use whatever container that you think will work for your refrigerator. And I like to use glass though, and you just seal it up nice and tightly and put it in the refrigerator. And then you've got a little salad to go if you'd like. I love this with sauerkraut and avocado. I love this with ground Brazil nuts. This is also delicious on top of a leafy green salad. Or even if you've made a soup, you can just sprinkle a few on top as a garnish. Every little sprout that you can get into your body is going to increase your health, increase your vitality, and increase your potentiality. So happy sprouting to you and your family.
Very good. Excellent. Now, I'm going to feel guilty for having those sprouting seeds sitting under my kitchen for so long because it's so simple.
So simple.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Safe eating and safe sprouting.